So hello everyone, and welcome to our training session for Module 4 of our series on databases. So this module will essentially cover what we call automotive databases, which refer to three different databases offered freely to the public by MEPLS. So the databases that we'll cover today are the Small Engine Repair Reference Center, Automate, as well as the Canadian Red Book Vehicle Valuation Guide. So these databases are all very specialized, although they all contain different kinds of information, and we're going to try to cover all of them today. So what we're going to try to do during the presentation is first cover the Small Engine Repair Reference Center and Automate. So we're going to try to look at what they are, when you should be using them, and how to search their content. We'll see that they're similar in a lot of ways in terms of the type of content. They just cover different types of vehicles or different types of motors. And then we're going to move on to a quick overview of the Canadian Red Book Vehicle Valuation Guide. And the reason we're only going to do sort of a quick overview is because this is only available in the 5 resource centers. We'll still look at what it is, when you should be using it, how to search it, etc. But what we'll do is focus maybe a lot more on how either patrons or staff of non-resource center libraries can get access to the information. So how do you submit a request? How can you expect to get an answer, etc. So for the first database, which is the Small Engine Repair Reference Center, this is essentially a database that fills the need for a collection of repair and maintenance guides. And it really allows patrons to access information, the information that they need to repair their own equipment. So this is really for the DIY crowd. And it's, like it says, so it really, we used to have a lot of these repair manuals, these repair guides, and physical copies in all of our libraries. There are still some in the collections here and there. However, this is really our way of having an electronic copy of these materials. So the database itself contains more than 450 full-text reference books. They all have the original photos and information on more than 25 years of engine models. So it'll cover and it'll provide a description of about 90,000 different repairs. So there is a very large breadth of information here. So patrons will find repair or maintenance guides for a variety of vehicles, for a variety of types of machines. And it will be especially helpful for patrons or for staff members who have purchased their machines secondhand and maybe do not have all the original documentation, so they don't have the repair guides or the user manuals or things of that nature. Please note that for this database, the content as well as the interface is in English only. I do not believe that we have a French equivalent at the moment. So this is essentially all the types of vehicles or of different machines that are covered in this specific database. We'll come back to these individual icons a little later just because they are important in the way that we will search the database. So the database includes all-terrain vehicles, generators and other small engines, so things that you may have around your garage, for example, or the house. So it'll cover marine and boat motors, it'll cover motorcycles, it'll cover outdoor power equipment. So this will be your lawnmowers, for example. So again, things that, you know, an average person may have around the house. It'll also cover personal watercrafts, snowmobiles, and tractors. So in the last category, you may have equipment that's a bit bigger, that's a bit more unusual for just, you know, your average homeowner, but still might be very interesting for certain patrons. In terms of searching options, you essentially have 4 ways of gathering information from the database. So you'll have 2 search options, basic and advanced search, and you'll have 2 ways of browsing the database, and we'll come back to those a little bit later. So they'll essentially be browsed by category or by publication. So if you're having any difficulties at any point during the search process in both the basic and the advanced search section, you will find a little question mark that you can click on that will essentially give you information on how to better use the search functions within the database. So they're just to the right of the search or the clear button on the search fields. The basic search will be done just using 2 or 3 keywords. So here keywords will really be product types, brands, models, or engine types. And then you'll simply click search. So as noted earlier, this is an English-only database. It means that only English search terms will work or provide you with any types of results. So the results will appear as a list of repair guides or chapters of repair guides, which are available as full-text PDF files, so that's really interesting in terms of format. Here, knowing the model number of the machine or engine that you're searching for is really helpful when it comes to selecting the correct guide. So for example, in the screen that you're seeing now, we did a search for Husqvarna chainsaws. So what you'll see is that Husqvarna has a bunch of different models of chainsaws. So without knowing specifically which one you have, you may not get the proper documentation that you're looking for. So this is important for staff to know, but it's also important to let the patrons know as early as possible in the process if they're calling to see whether this type of information they can get this type of information, to let them know that they will need the model number, for example, in order to really get to what they're looking for. The advanced search option resembles the ones that we've seen in previous databases. So it's essentially the basic search, but with added search fields. It'll allow you to use the Boolean operators, so and, or, and not, which will allow you to get even more precise results. So for every field, every search field, you'll be able to select different categories. So you can search for authors, title, publication name, etc. It's just a really useful way to add the model number as well, as you can see in the example that we see here, which will really help you narrow down your search results. So again, with this search, you'll get the full text PDF files. So you'll get the same type of list of results that you saw with the basic search. And you can really take advantage of that model number, again, to really limit the results that you're getting. For the browsing options, like I said earlier, you have essentially 2 main browsing options, either browse by category, in which you'll choose the type of small engine that you're looking for and then sort of narrow down your search from there, or browse by publication, which will allow you to search alphabetically through the different publications that are available in the database. This will be combined, the second option, with a search field, so you can actually try to search as well as browse through the publications kind of at the same time, which is very helpful. The browse by category, this is where these icons that we saw a little earlier actually come into play. So you will select one of these icons, and what will happen, or one of these categories, and what you will get, so if we select motorcycles, for example, is a list of all the manufacturers who have guides in the database. So once you select a manufacturer, you'll see which specific models actually have guides within the database as well, so you sort of narrow down until you get precisely what you're looking for. If you want to browse by publications, once you get into the database, if you look at the upper left corner, you'll see a new search and a publications option. So you'll want to select publications, and this will bring you to this new browsing page. So then you'll see a search field again, and then you'll see sort of a capability to browse alphabetically. So when you get to a specific publication, you'll again have all the information available in PDF format. Now, in terms of the results that you'll actually find, you'll find a bunch of different things in Small Engine Repair Reference Center. And typically you'll find diagrams. You'll also be able to find some step-by-step instructions for things like routine maintenance jobs, as well as tune-ups, and extensive repairs such as complete engine disassembly or reassembly. So in addition to this information about small engines, you'll also get instructions and diagrams for repairs about electrical, cooling, and fuel systems. You'll also get information about the transmission system, about the brakes. So you'll really get a lot of diverse information. One of the things that I like to point out, however, when we're discussing this database, is that it will still require of the user a certain amount of basic knowledge. So just because you get the information, I mean, you'll still need to know how to read an electrical components diagram, for example. You'll still need some tools, you'll still need some basic know-how for certain types of operations. Others will be simpler, but some of them might be complex, so you might want to just float that idea out there to the user as you're explaining to them how to use the database. So our next database is Automate. Automate is another English-only repair database. It really focuses more on larger vehicles, so automobiles and such. And it has replaced another database that we used to offer, which was the Auto Repair Reference Center. So it contains really a wealth of maintenance and repair information on thousands of domestic and imported vehicles that were built between 1974 and 2008. So it does have a really big range of information. The documents that you'll find on Automate are completely printable. However, you will not be able to get a PDF version like you did with the previous database that we saw. So the format is a bit more restrictive. However, you should be able to get to use them fairly easily anyway. So in terms of the types of information that are available, you will find step-by-step repair information, you will find diagrams, you will find maintenance schedules for your vehicle, you will find parts and labor estimates, which can be really interesting for users and for patrons. You will find service bulletins and recall information, and you'll find a bunch of other stuff as well. So what you're seeing on the screen now is some of the menus that you'll use to sort of navigate through the database, and we'll come back to them a little bit later. But it does contain a lot of different types of information. So in order to search the database, this is essentially done through drop-down menus. So you'll have 4 different fields. So the year, the make, the model, and the engine. So what you'll want to do is enter all that information into the database, and then the next thing you'll see is essentially a blank search bar with a long list of topics below that have to do specifically with the vehicle that you're searching for. And then you can either, enter keywords in the search bar or just choose a topic from the list. Something to note, and something that's really important here, and it's going to be the same thing for all 3 of the databases. The more precise the information, the easier this is going to go. So most users will know the year, they'll know the make, they'll know a part of the model, but they won't necessarily know the exact engine that they have. So what happens often is that they'll come in and they say, for example, I look information on a 2018 Chevrolet Equinox, but they won't necessarily know if it's an LT or if it's an Equinox, another variant of that model. So the sooner you can tell the patron that they'll need all this information, the better. If they can bring it with them at the library, or if they want to go back home and actually find it and then use it to get the information, because we want them to get the specific information for that specific model. So in terms of the results, you'll actually just select what you're looking for from the display list, and then all the subheadings or the appropriate subheadings will then appear. So this would be all the results for the vehicle that you searched for on the left side, and then you'll select, for example, battery replacement, and then you'll get a bunch of sub options that really have to do with the battery, so things about the battery cables, etc., battery test and things like that. So when you select the subheading, you'll see another window that'll open with further instructions. And you can see some icons, some diagrams as well, really depending on the vehicle. So the results look something like this, essentially. So as you can see on the upper right corner, you'll have the print option. So you'll be able to select print only, text only, or you'll be able to select print text and images, and then just click on the printer icon. And then that will allow you to print what you want. I think it's interesting with the images because as you can see sort of in green and in red on this image, they will do a fairly good job at highlighting the parts within the overall structure that you're really interested in. So they're really good visuals, and these will be accompanied by step-by-step instructions, like we said a little earlier. Now on to the Canadian Red Book Vehicle Valuation Guide. So this database is a bilingual database, so the name is only in English, as you'll see if you visit our library page. However, the content is bilingual, so the content and the interface. So it's different from the two other databases because it is bilingual, but also because it is only available in the 5 resource centers. So patrons cannot access it directly from home, and other patrons cannot access it from their libraries. However, this doesn't mean that they can't get the information, and we'll go sort of over that process soon enough. So essentially people use it when they're looking for the value of their vehicle for either sale, insurance, or tax purposes. And a lot of times they're being referred to us by Service New Brunswick, for example, because they're trying to do something with their vehicle. If patrons do end up from outside the resource center sending in a request, they'll usually get their results either through the phone or by email. In order to search the database, you can do this by a series of drop-down menus, a lot like on our previous database. So what you'll see is a field for the year, a field for the make, and a field for the model. So here we're essentially searching for a 2013 Honda Civic EX. And then a list of different types of vehicles under the heading vehicle will appear, and then you'll have to choose between other sort of submodels. So is it the sedan 4 doors, is it the coupe, etc. So the user will need all that information in order to get a very precise price. So the same issues that we saw with the other databases is often the patron will know that they are looking for a Honda Civic from 2013, but are they looking for a Civic EX or for another model? It depends. If they have the VIN number, so the vehicle identification number, they can search directly with that. However, most patrons don't have that with them, or they don't know it by heart, so it's not used as much. But it's something that you can. It's an option that you can give them for sure. So as you can see at the top of the page here, the valuations are for cars, trucks, and SUVs only. So no motorcycles, no trailers, no other types of vehicles. In order to submit a request, so if you go to our website and search through a list of databases, what you will find when you look at the Canadian Red Book Vehicle Valuation Guide, instead of a link to access the database, you'll get a link to submit your question online. So you can do that through our regular New Brunswick Reference Service question form. So they'll just go in and fill out the form. This will go to our reference inbox, and then they will be able to, to the reference inbox, and then a member of our reference team from one of the 5 resource centers will be able to answer the question. They'll either call back the patron or email them. So one of the issues that we have usually with this, obviously, is that all the necessary information isn't included with the initial email, so there tends to be a lot of back and forth. So if you encourage the patrons to use the email option, just please remind them of what they need to input. On a side note, Provincial Office is in the process of creating a form specifically designed for the Canadian Red Book. So it'll have, it'll sort of ask the patron to provide more specific information before they actually send in their request. So there might be some mandatory fields and things of that nature. So in terms of the results, this is essentially what they will look like. So you'll have three basic sections, a quote section, a base values section, and an adjusted values section. So most of the time, what your patrons really want is the retail value. The rest of the information, it might be useful for some people, but it's usually irrelevant to the patrons. This is what they're looking for because this is the number that they've been asked to provide either at Service New Brunswick or that they're using to sort of gauge how much they should be selling their vehicle. Now, in the adjusted values section, you'll see that there are adjustments that can be done for the odometer or for different options that you've put onto the vehicle. This can also be done if your patron has the appropriate information. So that wraps up our session for today in our three databases. If you have any questions or you need any support using these databases, please contact your resource center. Someone will be able to assist you and to sort of walk you through using these databases or to help out your patrons in doing so. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.